Once your data is modeled, the next step is data enrichment, which is creating new insights from existing data. In this lesson, you'll learn how Power BI uses DAX to calculate KPIs like revenue, profit, and percentages, and how visualization, reporting, and row-level security help deliver insights to decision makers. Let's dive in.
Then what do we do? Then we do data enrichment. Okay. So we say a very simple definition of a data enrichment is use existing data to create more data. Based on your KPIs, you might want to measure a KPI that does not exist as a data point within any of the system. It means you have to multiply two columns and then subtract and then divide and create a percentage, right? That percentage does not exist in the data set. You're not recording it, but you are you're extracting it out of the existing data points. Use existing data to create more data. What do we do in Excel? We have this flat file, and we say, okay, I have this unit price and quantity, and I want to create revenue, right? Now I have revenue, I want profit. And maybe I have a profit, I can create a profit percentage or something. Like, you create more data from the existing data. When you do it, you increase the analytical power of your data set. Now, this data set can answer more questions that were not previously possible. Basically, you use Excel functions like sum, average, if. That's what we do. How do we do it in Power BI? We use a language called DAX. Instead of Excel functions, we use a language called DAX. And DAX also has a lot of syntax and functions which are similar to what you have in Excel. But DAX is a lot more powerful than Excel. There are many difficult business questions that you cannot answer with Excel, but you can answer using DAX. And some of you also mentioned about DAX measures. DAX measure is the one that makes it very, very powerful. We don't have an Excel measure. When we are creating Excel calculations, we create columns, right? Most of the time, we create physical columns. But measures are very powerful because they are lightweight and there are many complex questions that you can answer a lot more easily with a measure. That's the data enrichment. Okay, from here, you basically go back to the point you started. That's your data visualization. Now, there was something interesting that I think Aiden said. It's a dashboard and not a report. Now, these are the two terminologies which people kind of use interchangeably, but it's good that he corrected me. So, Aiden, I want to understand from you, what do you mean by a report and what do you mean by a dashboard? What's the distinction here?
Dashboard has more than one report that you can see, and report usually just one of the things that you want to let people know. But dashboard is multiple reports inside dashboard,
That is
and it's
absolutely
more
right.
visualized. Yes.
So, dashboard and report. So, in a lot of businesses, they don't really use a dashboard at all. All they have is a report, which is coming out from a single data model, right? At the back, there is a single data model. Yes, Jeff.
I was just going to add a little bit. I would actually say a dashboard is a dynamic presentation mechanism, and a report would tend to be static or generated at a particular time.
So, Jeff, that definition is true outside Power BI. Power BI has given a different naming terminology to a report and a dashboard, which, especially if when you come from an Excel user, it does not make sense. Because when we are speaking specifically in Excel world, a report is like a flat file, right? A flat Excel file, something like a data set. And when you convert that into some kind of a pattern where you can dynamically change and chop thing, that's a dashboard for us. But in Power BI, dashboard is a completely different thing. The visualization that we create within Power BI, they call it a report in Power BI. And dashboard is when you start to combine multiple reports, right? You have this one report, that you have two report, you have three report. And within dashboard, you start to combine different elements from different reports together. Like, that becomes kind of a dashboard. Both of them are visual, Jeff. Both of them are dynamic. Both of them has charts in it. But dashboard is like a top layer that combines multiple visuals from multiple reports coming out of the multiple data models together, which is important for someone like a CEO or C executives who wants to
Then,
see
then,
a
then what would you call a static output from the system? Obviously, it's not really designed to produce static outputs, but it does, and people still require them. So what would you call it?
Give me an example of a static output, just like a flat Excel file, you mean?
Yeah, well, it would be a flat. It would be a flat export of what is produced or displayed in a dashboard.
It's still a dashboard. It will still be a dashboard. It will just be like a dashboard point in time. Right? It's a point in time report or a snapshot of a report. It's not just dynamic. And at the same time, it's very unlikely that any report or any dashboard will be a live report. It does not really exist in majority of the companies. Majority of the companies is a point in time. The point in time might just be like few hours back to few weeks back, but it will still be a point in time. You know what I'm saying? So as soon as a report is refreshed, it becomes a point in time.
It's becoming a bit philosophical, but
Yeah,
yes, the data will be from a particular point, but the
yeah.
display of the data is dynamic. So you can change, you can, in a Power BI dashboard, obviously you can change the way you render that on the fly. And so the
When
user
you
has
mean
the
change, you
ability.
mean like using a slicer?
Yes,
Oh yeah.
that's an example.
Okay. So a report, even if a report does not have a slicer, we will still call it a report in a dashboard. Yeah, we will still call it a report in a dashboard. Your use of a slicer depends on the fact that what do you actually want from the report? Do you actually want to slice and dice? And some, if your final vision does not include use of a slicer, you don't want to slice it based on anything, it will still be a report. It will be, it will not be sliced. When people say dynamic report, maybe what I understood was more like a live report, which is you can actually see the report as a reflection of a database or a data source. As the data changes in the data source, your report is actually changing live based on that change, which does not really exist until and unless you have a really sophisticated licensing system and a really sophisticated data engineering team. Oh, I hope it makes sense.
It makes sense. I think it's probably it's just semantics to an extent. It's still ultimately it comes down to who your audience is and what you're trying to present to them, whether it is in a flat file form or using graphics. So it doesn't.
It is true. It is semantic, and just for the sake of, let's say, for the course, when I will say a report, I will actually mean something that we create on this layer of whatever I create within this layer of Power BI. I will actually mean a report by that. When I mean a data set, whatever we see in a flat Excel kind of a view, that will be a data set. I will not call it a report, although I understand, few people might actually call it a report. So that will allow us to communicate, when I say a data set, it will be a flat file, something like this. Let me actually show it to you. Something like this, a flat file. This is, I will call it a data set. And when I will convert that into a report, which is use of a visual or a matrix or even a pivot table, I will just use the terminology of a report just to distinguish, these two form of data. Both are the form of the data, but just to distinguish. Okay. So if I go back, like that's your end goal, and I think this is also the right place to mention a few more things. So when I go from, so this part I will call the data set. When you go from a data set to a report, your information is there in the data set. Your information is there in the report. But why do we take this step? Why do we go from a data set to a report? I can also call it data visualization. What is the intent of this step? What do you think?
Hi, Ali. I would say dataset does not have any measures or calculation formulas. A report
No,
may
data set can have. Data set, you can actually create columns inside the data set.
Yep. So it's it not in a report. It's a more user-friendly environment where the end user or the audience is it's easier for the audience to just play
That
around.
is correct. That is correct. That is really the intent. The intent is not that the data does not exist. The intent is to make insights more obvious and easy to read. Because if they want to find the same insights from the data set, they might have to spend like an hour to find and collect the insight. But in a report, it's easy to read. They can make a quick and effective decision making, right? Just make it simple and easy and quick for them to understand the insight and make a decision. That's the intent of a report, to summarize its data present, and you do this by presenting the data in a summarized format. That's your data visualization. Okay. Okay. And then really the last one is you can share and collaborate. Collaborate. And before you share and collaborate, you can do one more thing. You can define security, which is also a very powerful feature within Power BI. I can say if when I share my report with Jeff will only see information for Sydney. And when the same report gets shared with James will only see information for Melbourne. But when that information gets shared with Kushal will see information for Sydney and Melbourne because maybe he's the boss. You can define security in a way where the same report passes through a filter before others can start to see it. And we call this row level security. In Excel, we achieve this by creating multiple versions of the report. If I don't want to share a data with someone, I just want to create a different copy of it, remove the things that I don't want, and then I can share it with them. But here we can define the security. So it becomes an automated process. Okay, another way to think about a row level security is a hard coded filter that the consumer cannot see and the consumer cannot change. That's your row level security, and we can define it based on criteria and a logic. And that's a share and collaborate part. Okay, so let me stop here. That was a quick overview of some of the steps that we perform within Power BI. Right, get the data, transform the data, consolidate, enrich, and then you report. A lot of these steps remain similar even if you use another tool. So what I'll do is I'll share an Excel file with you in the chat. Just download the file on the desktop and also open your Power BI desktop, please.